Dan, can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, Dan Reich. I've been running the security program at PatientPing for about 2.5, almost 3 years now, I guess.
Oh,
Um, PatientPing actually just finished a really massive sort of undertaking with their security program to become high trust certified, which they have now completed, and I'm really thankful for the help from SecureLayer7 in closing some of our gaps to get us there.
right. So I think before talking about gaps, what are the challenges of security you faced so far? I mean, while you were working on Patient Ping's security program.
Yeah, so PatientPing is kind of an interesting company. So within the U.S. healthcare system, right, it is really disjointed, and so you have a lot of silos of patient information, and one of the
Right.
problems with that, of course, is that because of that, right, care providers have had to do a lot of unnatural things to share information, which is effectively weakened security.
Right.
And so one of the things that PatientPing has been doing is solving some of those challenges of care coordination. Now, of course, that means the challenge for PatientPing is that all this information is now flowing through their platform, right? So
Right.
now they're the target.
Right. You're just saying that there are a lot of attack surface just opened for the Patient Ping because of silos and the application and the new infrastructure which is just recently added, right?
Yeah. So obviously, right, our perspective, of course, is that we don't want to create yet more surface areas that could be attacked. But for patient ping specifically, right, part of what we do, of course, is reducing some of that risk because we're managing that coordination that
Right.
typically is done manually, right, and we're sort of running a lot of automation around that.
Right. So, like now you're talking about some security impact. So, in this case, how SecureLayer7 help you to mitigate or to at least respond to your security impact?
Yeah. So I think one of the really interesting things that SL7 has done for us is that when we turn to them for a pen test, we kind of took the gloves off a bit. I mean, basically, the only thing that we asked was don't take down Amazon, don't go after any of our partners, right? But within the sandbox that we've created for you, right?
Right. Yeah.
you know
I
here
remember.
here are credentials. Let's start from the assumption that you already have credentials, and so let's see what you can do knowing that you've gotten past the low hurdle of somebody leaked your credentials somewhere, and what's the worst that could happen. And so what was interesting for me to see was that you were able to take the time to understand the application and then dive into the business logic. And I think one of the things that came out from a finding was something that was so obscure from a business logic flaw, right?
Right.
It wasn't necessarily a security issue, more of just a privacy concern, but still that you were able to dive really deeply and find this flaw that had been lurking. And not only that, but it'd been really hard to actually replicate, right? So
Right.
the engineering team, a number of conversations and several weeks to be able to fully piece together, okay, what exactly was happening, because it was truly like a very rare event in the application stack.
Right. Like you're already saying like almost a week. I think you were speaking with your team. And how do you think that communication with SecureLayer7 happened well, or are we giving you right information so that you are able to dig in?
Yeah, that's always a challenge, right? Everyone struggles with that, right? What's the right information? And you're not necessarily speaking the same language. You talk to engineers, right? From a security perspective, that's a little bit harder. So
Right.
I think ultimately, yeah, we got the right information that we needed to. Um, it's never easy. I think that
Yes.
when you look at other organizations and you've seen some of these like public breach disclosures because there was a communication gap, right? They spent, there was there was a bug report to a company, right? And then they sit on it, or maybe they're looking at it for whatever
Right.
months. But because they're not able to understand it, right, it tends to get publicly, right, a full
Right.
public disclosure. And so I think for us, to take to be able to work backwards and uncover what was going on within a week or two is very reasonable,
Hmm.
given that they're still doing everything else they're supposed to do during the day. So this is kind of interrupting their workflow, and yet they're still processing it and going through and addressing it.
Right. Right. And in order to understand the vulnerabilities or business logic vulnerability which SecureLayer7 sent you, so we sent you the video of POC, so that helps you for giving some sort of information back to your team.
Yeah, it did. I think ultimately what sort of clued the team in was being able to look at the timestamps, right, and
Right.
in that replay, and then now we can recreate those exact parameters from that timestamp and understand exactly what was going on, right, and really just kind of drive that. So a lot of other engagements I've done, it's here's the PDF report, here's the steps to replicate, but not always easy to replicate unless it's a lot simpler of an issue, right? So if it's very clear, okay, I got admin access, right? Then that's not really the case. I'm in this case, right? What we're talking about is I got access to another patient, right? And there's some dynamic patient matching, right? And of course, keep in mind, it's all in a simulated environment. We don't have actual data here. That was testing, but you were able to show that there was a means by which you could access another record through a very obscure sort of flaw. Now, I did not say any record, but certain records, right? And so, that was that
definitely. Definitely. Even I feel that the information with PatientPing is really important. And you're passing a lot of information to SecureLayer7. So do you feel that passing these information to SecureLayer7 it's a good idea? And how do you think that SecureLayer7 handled all this private information for PatientPing? I mean, just to increase the trust with PatientPing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Obviously, from my perspective, right, we set up, one of the things that worked well for us was that because of our contractual relationships with customers, right, set up a sandbox environment. So there truly was no data that I was concerned about. And that's why I was really comfortable saying, hey, here are some credentials, right? I'm going to start from the assumption that you're already in my perimeter, right? You have used credentials. And so, because those are, that is a low hanging fruit. And
right.
I've had, we've done other tests where it's like, okay, here's the black box, right? See what you can do. And, you get what you pay for in that sort of engagement, because it's basically like, yes, they get nothing, right? And they find a few little things where they'll report, okay, well, you still have TLS11. Back then, okay, all right. There are business reasons why, a year or two ago, we were still allowing customers to opt for TLS11. I mean, healthcare in the US, you still have a lot of healthcare organizations that are running Windows 7 and old versions of Internet Explorer. And I think it was last year we made the business decision to simply just cut it off, because Microsoft has said, we're not supporting you anymore. And so we said, great, we're not going to support you either. And we told customers, you have to be TLS 1.2 and figure it out.
Definitely. I mean, there are back and forth, a lot of communication was happening with you guys as well. And how do you feel about the project management or the pen testers information that SecureLayer7 given you back?
Yeah, it's really phenomenal. I think as you said, the videos are really special. We haven't, I've worked with other pen test firms, and that's not something that I typically see. Usually, it's an exception to, hey, we can't figure this out, we can't replicate it, so then you'll produce a video. But really, every finding came with a proof of concept, which is great. And I think, if anything, right, SecureLayer7 was really accommodating to our insanity, right? So if you're used to small organizations where you have a little more chaos, right? And so things don't always go as planned. In fact, the first time we did engagement, right, we had a really massive delay on our part because we made assumptions about certain projects, right, that were sort of gating for us to be able to do this testing, being available, and those teams ready. So, from that perspective, it's actually, I think you bent over backwards to accommodate us, which is, it's never a good thing to kind of ask for that. But I mean, it was, we had issues on our side in terms of being able to execute those engagements because our testing environment wasn't ready. The project management on your side, you were able to really adjust to that, accommodate, and we're able to replan those exercises.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. For most of the customer, we can easily scale up the pen test, and that's what happened. with you as well. Like you just said, Sandeep, we just need to start pen test because now environment is ready. You go ahead and start it. So we have
Right.
already the pen testers with us, which is available for doing all sort of work. Now you almost feel like you are having a good security posture of your application or your infrastructure. So what is recommendation you will give to your other companies, which is something similar to the PatientPing or in healthcare? What do you feel about that?
If you're doing pen testing, there's sort of two camps in terms of what I've seen with pen testing, right? Certain companies, right, they just want to check the box. They don't really care. And then there are other companies that really care, like PatientPing, and they actually do really value security. So it's better to know what's in your environment, what skeletons you have lurking in your closet, as opposed to kind of being blind and ignorant to, and hopefully no one will find them out. Especially within healthcare, it is challenges all over. For health tech company like PatientPing, where you don't have, we're not dealing with infrastructure in clinical care settings. So,
Right.
We have less concern with lots of legacy things, but it's really a good practice to have a good partner for pen testing and not being afraid of the results, right? Embracing whatever the finding is,
Right.
Using that as an opportunity to do better. Because, if, for example, if you bring something to your executive team, right, and you have a serious finding and your patient records are at risk, and they kind of go, okay, right. If you're not, getting their attention and really addressing it, then it's a different sort of problem, right?
Right.
Recently, there was a recent podcast that was talking about vulnerabilities, right, and how a lot of companies have. Basically, a lot of people are just basically gone, okay, well, there's way too many of them for us to deal with. There was a podcast that I was recently listening to where they were talking about vulnerabilities and how some organizations have basically they've effectively given up because they're focused on some really odd metrics, right? So when you look at vulnerability scans, which is sort of the automated version, if you will, of pen testing, right? That just let me run the scanner, right? And they'll come up with hundreds or thousands of vulnerabilities, and organizations are really looking at them and going, okay, well, how do we reduce that number? Not how do I resolve all of them, but I have 1,000 vulnerabilities or 10,000 vulnerabilities. How do I reduce that by 10%? And that's what they get victory on. And that's a whole different level of problem, and not really addressing that problem. So you have issues, right? You have exposure points, and are they even legitimate? Because again, it's an automated tool that's just kind of making noise, right?
Definitely.
So it's just way too much for realistically to be useful, right? Same thing with antivirus, right?
Right.
You have these things that go off all the time. Is it legitimate? Is it not? When you're engaging with like a pen test, and you really scope it up properly, and you have expert level resources working on it, expert level engineers working on it, you're going to get a better result, and you're going to have things that you can actually dive deep on and resolve, as opposed to, well, you have weak TLS still enabled. That's not really a finding that, you shouldn't be doing it, but at the same time, there's almost always more serious things going on that you probably want to dig into.
Definitely. I think I agree with you, the scope part. So this reminds me to ask you one question, Dan. This happens with a lot of customers. Before going for pen test, what kind of prerequisite you should fulfill before going for the pen test? Like, I feel a lot of customers, like, they come directly without having any, due diligence in their company, and they directly come to the pen test and they will find a lot of issues. So how do you solve that?
Yeah. Is an interesting thing. So before I joined PatientPing, there was a pen test, and they hired a legitimate pen test firm, and they did a good job, and they had findings. And the problem with that was that the leadership team wasn't prepared for what that meant. They assumed that, well, I get a scan, it tells me some things, I fix them, and we kind of all, I get my happy report that says, look, we're good. And they can show the executive summary to prospective customers. And when they hired a very well-known firm that does really good work, they got results accordingly. And so it's really important that you make sure that you are explaining to your management, look, we're going to engage on a pen test, and it will produce results. And
Right.
it's not like it's not the end of the world for the company, but these are things that you should know about, right? That
Right.
your board is going to want to know about, and use that report to improve, right? Don't look at it as, well, somebody screwed up. Look at it as, here's how we do better, right?
Right. So do you think that this pen test helped you for high trust or HIPAA compliance, the regulatory?
It helped us in a lot of different ways. So obviously it helped us satisfy our compliance controls, but it also raised awareness to the senior management, right?
Right.
So again,
That's important.
positioning it correctly with them and explain to them, look, this is what we're going to do, right? It may have some high risk findings,
Right.
and that's okay. Let's address them, right?
Right.
And explain to them, well, how did we get here, right? And what's the breakdown in our engineering process? Is it a problem in how we're doing peer reviews? Is it a problem in our source code dependencies?
Right.
So,
Right.
that it's really important that once you've prepped them for it, they'll look at it and use it up and you go, okay, now I can actually sleep better at night.
Definitely. I mean, that's help you to at least understand where your security posture is improved or where it is actually going downside. So basically you have a lot of features in the application where to concentrate eventually for the next pen test.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the last question for you, Dan, I know this may be difficult. Would you like to hire SecureLayer7 again?
Absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah, I Sandeep, I refer you all over the place. And what's really funny, I won't name the other company, but it is a well-known firm in the U.S. The last organization I was at, we use them as sort of the glossy face for certain customers that expected you to spend a lot of money. But SecureLayer7 was the one that actually produced results, and that was the one that we actually had cared about. So, I absolutely, like, if you really are serious about doing a pen test and you want to know threats you actually need to be worried about and other things that your engineering team could be exposing, then you absolutely want to use SecureLayer7.
Definitely. I mean, thanks for that watch. And I just want to add here, Dan, the last line. I think we are working on a solution called as Bugdas, and this is going to simplify the pen test, and we will both focus on pen test instead of doing a lot of administration work. And also we are going to help like customers like a PatientPing to save their time for creating a triage and talking with the developers, like you said, 1 week, which is huge, right? So we'll try to reduce that time as well for you guys.
Right.
So all right, I think it was really nice talking with you. I needed to have a one short discussion with you, and it's been fantastic journey with you, especially, and I know you handled us very well. And I hope we will be continuing the same pen test again and again, and we will able to find more critical vulnerabilities for you, so that your boss or your management will see that, guys, security is really important.
Right. And even when one thing I told the CFO, I said, look, even if they don't find anything, that just means you're doing a good job. It doesn't mean that they're not doing a great job. It just means that you started to listen to and read the reports, right? And you're not making the same mistakes over and over again.
Right.
So
perfect. I mean, that's a really good closure statement, I would say, for the CFO. Like, even if doing pen test is really nice always, because you get to know what exactly happening within your system, and it's really does have any kind of security bugs or not if you're hiring a good pen test company, right?
Right.
All right, Dan. Thank you for jumping in such a late evening. And
no worries. It's probably the best time to get a hold of me right now with all the other things going on.
Right. So pleasure talking with you, and have a nice evening. Enjoy the time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Bye.
Bye.